What 5 things have you already achieved? That which makes you proud, you've already accomplished that you're proud of. Next question. What do you want in the next 10 years? I want you to make a list with at least 50 things on it. This isn't what you think you can get what you'd like. If everything went into place where you could have anything what would you want in the next 10 years? That list be not something you think you can earn, not something you think you can buy, not something you think you can, finally be so wealthy you can get. This is what would really do it for you the next 10 years. I want you to make this list, and here's the deal. Now, I want you to put each item one under the other, not side by side, but one under the other, and make as long a list as you possibly can in the time I'm going to give you one underneath the other, because we're going to do some things with this list. When you finish, okay, just start writing now. As fast as you can abbreviate where you can make a longer list. If something's private, put it in code so nobody could figure it out. They got a hold of this list, one underneath the other. As fast as you can write, just let your dreams, okay? Run free here, not what you think you can get, but what you want. If everything fell into place and you could have whatever you wanted the next 10 years, what would that be? Little things, major things, insignificant things, doesn't matter. Just make the list places you want to visit. I've been to a lot of countries, but I got a long list of countries I haven't been to yet. Last year, I checked Cyprus off my list. What countries haven't you been to that you'd like to visit the next 10 years, places you'd like to visit? I've never been to Venice. I've been around the world and all over Italy. And I've never been to Venice, so it's on my list. I haven't been to Egypt, haven't been to Saudi Arabia. You'd think I've been everywhere 39 years. Not yet. What events would you like to have in the next 10 years? Fall out of an airplane star in a movie, play in a rock and roll band, win a gold medal in the Olympics, start a new family, try a new sport. What do you want for your children? That's a whole list in itself. Schooling places, you want to take them. What new skill would you like to learn over the next 10 years? When I started learning new skills at age 25 would change my life. I learned sales, increased my income by 5 first year. I learned how to find good people, recruiting, boosted my income some more. Learned how to organize, learned how to promote, thanking people were small steps of growth. I became so good at that my income went crazy. Maybe you'd like to give workshops, write some books the next 10 years, some things right away within the next year, some on out there, kindness goals. Maybe you've got a big list of projects you'd like to support. Now, this is not what you think you can do. This is what you'd really like to do. Mark Hughes had a love for helping kids that had drug problems. One year he gave $8 million. When I first met him, he couldn't give $800. Finally, he could give $8 million. Andrew Carnegie said, I'm going to spend the first half of my life collecting money, and I'm going to spend the last half of my life giving it all away. That's big time. In the first half of his life, he collected $400 million, which back then was a lot of money. Guess what he did? The last half of his life, he gave it all away. So keep your list going. What's got you turned on? Maybe you've been turned off until you got here this weekend. I want you to start working on turning your lights on for feats. You can't believe what you can accomplish if you'll just work hard on this list. Now, it's amazing how adults have, a problem with this, right? Let's see. And kids don't have any trouble. They'd be asking for extra sheets of paper by now. I mean, kids say, you mean anything? I could anything I want the next 10 years. Yes, write it all down. They would go like crazy. A cabin in the mountains. Upstairs, may do A, cook a driver. How about your investments assets? One of my goals was someday to be financially independent. We're going to talk about that a little later. My father convinced me years and years ago that someday I should be debt-free. Owe no one anything. My mother and father practiced that. When I received the estate, all the lands and the house and the houses and the things and the cars and everything, guess how much was owing? When I inherited it all, 0, not 1 penny, everything free. It is a wonderful feeling for no one to have a claim on anything. Maybe you want to be in the top 10 in wealth. Is Bill Gates still number 1, the top 10 or the top 20? I mean, whatever. Maybe you're working on a new invention. Congratulations, someday, who knows? Make a list of your health goals. Got to have a good physical health system over the next 10 years. How healthy do you want to be? Eliminate some diseases. Eliminate some weaknesses. Get strong for competition in the 21st. Century one of my goals was to have a home in each season for each season. Finally check that off my list so I can spend winter here and summer here and autumn here and spring here. Home for each season, an apartment in Manhattan Ranch in Brazil. What would really do it for you the next 10 years? Some goals for your job, your business. I put a little payback on my first list. Some of the people that said I couldn't do well, they were on that first list. Couldn't wait to get my new car, drive it up on their lawn and say, oh, pardon me, here's the money to have it fixed. I mean, I had some stuff on my list, something that would give you great satisfaction. Old Testament God says, wrath is mine, all mine. No wonder he wants it all. It feels so good. If I was God, I'd want it all. What would really do it for you? Some scores to settle gently but knowingly. My Japanese friend Toro Ikada, San Jose, California, put on his first list a Caucasian gardener. I thought, hey, that's good, Doro. What would do it for you, a hobby? You'd like to start collecting new car, become a race driver. I got this neat little motor home, right? Put the dirt back on the back way I go. I'm now putting a fax machine in my motorhome so I can be a little more in touch even when I'm gone. Here's my new mode for the future, in touch and out of reach. That's the new deal. Say, yes, you can write. You can call him, but you can't find him for a while. He's gone. So you know what is your dream for the future to get away, something that would really serve you well. In terms of nice change of pace skills, you want to help teach your children. I taught my girls how to swim, how to dive, such a great pleasure. When they used to say, watch me, Daddy, watch me, look how good I am. You taught me, watch me. Got a good phrase for you. This is a good one to put in here. All life seems to wish to reward its donor. All life wishes to reward its sponsor. If you take especially good care of the flowers, they will bloom. Especially bright for you. If you teach your children, they will want to show off for you. Daddy, look how good I am. All life takes delight in giving its sponsor. What classes would you like to teach my friend Lydia Colon, who 20 years ago invested $1? Now she's a wealthy. One of her specialties is helping young parents do a little marriage therapy, right? Some of those early years, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Those early years are pretty tough to get through. What specialty would you like to learn? Make a gift to society? Make a gift to your community? Does most. Everybody have a list of 50. Now, okay, that's almost everybody. Okay, now put a little star there, right? That says you can continue this list. This doesn't mean this is all you get. Say no, this is just to get you started, because I promise you, when you get back home, you'll think of 50 more and 50 more and 50 more that you couldn't think of while you were here. And this list can grow and grow and grow. Now here's what this also means. If you have a lot more time than we have today, you can take plenty of time to just have people make as long a list as you know possible. Okay? Now we're going to do some things with this list. Here's the next exercise. I want you to look at each item on this list you've made and give each item a number, the number being a 135 or 10. And this is why I want you to look at an item and say, I think that would take about 1 year. Another item, you say, I think that would take about 3 years. Another item, I think that would take 5. And another item looks like that's going to take 10. Give each item now a number of what you think it might take to achieve that goal. A 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10, just somewhere close. Doesn't have to be exact. That's about a 1, that's about a 3 goal, that's about a 5-year goal, that's about a 10-year goal. If it's less than 1 year, just make it a year. It's more than 10, just make it 10, 10 plus. Something running a race now, as soon as you've given each item a number, I want you to now go through and count them. How many 1s, how many 3s, how many 5s, how many 10s, and then just make a little list of those numbers. How many 1s, 3s, 5s, 10. This is going to be interesting. How many of you had no 10-year goals? Okay, quite a few, right? Isn't that interesting? Here's what that means. You're not thinking out that far. You're thinking more short-term than long-term. If someone had 0, someone had 14, that's a lot of change in thinking long run. So that's all that's for, is to help you to think more long range. Okay, now make these notes when you've achieved some goals. You need some more to finish next. It's very important when you reach a goal that's significant or important to you to celebrate. So just jot that down. Celebrate a significant success, or it doesn't have to be that significant. If it's important to you, it doesn't have to be world-changing or life-changing. If it's just a goal that's really important to you, you finally reached it. Celebrate now, hopefully, on your list of goals. You had some family goals, and if the family together finally reaches a goal, jot this down, celebrate with the family. And if you're checking it off, let each person of the family put their check mark on this goal because the whole family worked on this one. Now, here's what this will do. It will help each part of your family to make a longer list of goals. Wow, if we can accomplish this, think of what else we could do. The same is true of you individually. When you accomplish something, check it off party. It'll help you to grab your lists wherever it is and say, hey, if I can get here, I can double that original list. So celebration builds excitement to develop a longer list. You also need goals ongoing. When the early astronauts went to the moon, some of them, when they came back from the moon, had psychological problems. Some of them drank too much, got into other problems. And one of the reasons is, where do you go now that you've been to the moon? So here's what they did later. They made sure that the pilots later who came back from the moon had plenty of projects to keep them busy after they had been to the moon. And the same is true of you and me. Goals after you've reached them. Another list. After you reach those, another list. My father lived to be 93. You can't imagine the goals he had. One of his goals when he was 92 was to get his driver's license updated. Guess what? He got it renewed for 4 years at age 92. He got his driver's license renewed for 4 years. Now, he didn't live long enough to, if he'd have thought about it more, I think he would have lived 2-3 more years just to make sure he filled all that out. Unbelievable. So goals to replace goals that you've achieved on and on the rest of your life. Because the philosophy we talked yesterday was what? How far should you go? Far as you can. How many books should you read? As many as you can. How many friends should you make? As many as you can. How much should you earn? As much as you can. That's it. What should you try to be? All you possibly can. And that's the goal of this workout, is just to stretch. You get you to think, get you to wonder, get to think. I wonder what might be possible if I could get everything I wanted. What would that be? Now, here's the next exercise, okay? Jot down the question on your list of one-year goals, which are the 4 most important. So now I want you to go back over your one-year goals and pick out the 4 most important. Now, if you've only got 4, now this is an easy exercise, but you might add some more to your one-year list if you haven't got enough, and then pick out the 4 most important. This is what turned me on at age 25, goals for achievement and personal progress. Once the fires were lit for me, I'm telling you, they have never gone out since I was 25 years old. No one has ever said to me, when are you going to get going? When are you going to get off the couch? When are you going to get off the... I've never heard that since I was 25 and got all this taken care of. Here's what I've heard since I was 25. When are you going to slow down? You can't visit that many places. You're going to have a heart attack and die. By the way, you might stop and shut these notes down. Here's 2. Here's 2 excellent questions to jot down. And this is for grown people now, because these are kind of tough questions, especially one. Here's the first question. What's got you turned on? That's a good list to make. Here's what's got me turned on. Here's what's got me up early, staying up late, maximizing my skills all day long. Here's the list of what's got me turned on. Now here's the next question. What's got you turned off? How come you don't have the zest and the vigor and the appetite for daily success? I started making lists of the things that had me turned off, and once I got that settled, and then started making a list of what had me turned on and what would turn me on in the future. I'm telling, my life has never been the same. It was like a revolution, a personal revolution, a 180-degree turn. I can't say it's strong enough. It's easy to get lazy in creating the day and designing the year and planning the future and creating what you want to accomplish, and just cross your fingers and hope it'll all work out, that the good winds will blow it all your way. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. So this is the part of the exercise, is just, getting down, making this list, and you got to continue this long after we've, turn out the lights and we've all gone home. Keep this up. And one of the best ways to keep it up, I've already covered yesterday, is what teach it. Key is to teach it. Jan was right. You don't need praise. Just go give everybody you can think of that deserves it praise, and your own. Self-satisfaction is praise enough if they never put a crown on your head? Who cares? Okay, the 4 most important one-year goals, have you got those identified? Okay, now here's the next exercise this will take. Now just a little bit of time, and the question is why? Why are those 4 goals important to you? Because the why is very important. And I'm going to give you some notes on that a little bit later, so just start a little text why those 4 goals are important to you, and then we'll put a little star there that says continue this later. This is a good question to ask kids. Kids said, here's what I'd like to have, and you say, why is that? And if they can start explaining the why. So now make these notes, put a little star there and now. And that star means that you can add to it later, so make these notes. Now here's the first one. When the why gets better, the how gets easier. When the why gets big, powerful, strong. How seems to be so much easier without a strong enough? Why the how seems to be too tough almost to accomplish. Say, how do you manage your time? Hey, if you had strong and powerful enough goals, you'd figure out how to manage your time. You'd get a book on the subject. You'd do something to handle your time if it was worth it, if it's not worth it. Why would you bother learning the art of managing your time if it really doesn't matter? But if it really counted in the accomplishment of your goals and why you wish to accomplish them, see, you can do anything. You can get up any hour, read any book, take any class, make any change, improve any skill, do any discipline. I mean, you can do it all when this how and the why, or when the why starts to grow. The how gets simple, great question to ask children why. What fools? Little note. Maybe one of your goals was to have a $1 million home on the hill, viewing Snake River Valley. That'd be a good goal, $1 million home. Here's the next question, what for? I mean, a house is a house is a house, with bricks and wood and walls and roof key. Yes, $1 million home, that'd be wonderful, but what for? So now jot this down. Purpose is stronger than thing. The thing we'd be the house, and that'll pull. That's a good goal to go for the object of the house. But here's a stronger goal. The reason for the $1 million home, you say, well, it'll be the focus of all the family's activity with all kinds of interesting people coming and going in the effect, and things will be happening in this place. See, now we're getting somewhere. So if you got that line, it's one of my best for the whole day. Goal is stronger than object. It's okay to have plenty of things to go for on your goal list, but always keep asking yourself the question. And sometimes it's good to just write it out. Here's why I want this money. Here's why I want this place. Here's why, and you start creating those reasons. And I'm telling you now, this starts to become incredibly powerful. Now here's some more notes. Napoleon Hill talks about personality. You need a nice personality. There's many parts to your personality. One is your job personality. The kind of behavior, the kind of attitude that you need, especially in the public. Some things you can kind of get by with being a little careless, maybe in private, but in public, where it counts so much in your paycheck. It counts so much in building your business for the future, your own style. But here's what you also must remember. You develop your personality in private so that it serves you well in the public. Sometimes we get the wrong idea. I can be careless with just these few and be more careful when I have 1,000. But see, that doesn't work that way. Careless with a few, sure enough, that will creep into your talk for 1,000 people. Here's the best method. And the Herbalife chance in our marketing systems gives you the best chance to do that. The effect you have one-on-one, that's what really counts. You say, well, I'm only talking to 2 people. It doesn't matter much. That's when it really matters. Because if you'll practice well, they're using your personality, using your power to get someone's attention, to get them to listen, to get them to participate. The kind of personality that someone says, I'd like to be around this person. They're unusual. They're not like the average person I meet on my everyday experience, that kind of attitude, but you've got to practice it behind the scenes. You've got to practice it one-on-one, and if you're successful, one-on-one, one-on-3, one-on-5, I promise you that will get you ready to now act with the kind of personality, the kind of charisma that wins people when you're in front of 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000. So this is a good point, working on your personality. Here's the best gift you can give someone, and that's the gift of attention. Attention is so powerful. When I was a young man, I met Nelson Rockefeller, one of the richest men in America at that time. He's gone now, but he was a unique person, ran for vice president of the United States. And I had a chance to be where he was holding a press meeting. And I got close enough so that when he walked out, I had a chance to step up, right? When security was not all that bad in those days, and I had a chance to put out my hand, shake his hand, and say, Mr. Rockefeller, my name is Jim Rohn. And what I remember most was the attention he gave me with the lights of the cameras around and everybody all around. He looked right at me and said, Jim Rohn, where are you from? I said, Idaho. He said, I really like Idaho. It's one of my favorite states in all of the country. And for just a few seconds, he gave me his attention, shook my hand. I'll never forget the handshake, right? One of those multi-million-dollar handshakes, but I'll never forget, get that personal care he gave me. Just for a few seconds, it was powerful, made an impact on me. That's lasted until this day. That's why I remember to tell the story. So same thing you can learn to do. Utilize your traits, utilize your influence, give people the gift of attention. Here's the rest of my list. Now, as we finish up next, Napoleon Hill said, a leader needs understanding, and understanding, we have to develop that early in our lives. All of our lives. We have to look at those that are less lucky than we are those who need a helping hand. And especially now, we learn to look at those who need a chance, those who need a change in their health, those who need a change in their life and in their lifestyle. It's this kind of kindness and understanding that drove Mark Hughes to build the company. It took that kind of understanding, that kind of love, that kind of deep feeling. Then Mark understood what it meant to be poor. He knew what it meant not to have. He understood what it meant to be short on funds, on resources. He understood what it meant to lack, full formal education. He knew all of those lacks. And instead of crying about it, he said, what I will do is change it for myself, and then I'll help other people that have the same problem. Lack of education, lack of the money, lack of the tools, lack of good health, faced with all kinds of problems they can't solve. I'll get mine solved, and then I'll be strong enough and have the skills to where I can help other people. That kind of leadership ability is so powerful. That kind of understanding. Here's the next one. A boss must have, Napoleon said, a mastery of the facts, how very true all can be lost. With just a couple of broken information on the trip to the moon. Everything has to work, right? There's several thousand moving parts. There's several thousand pieces to the project of getting to the moon and going back. And all of them have to work. You can't have 10% of them working, 190% or 80%. They've all got to work. And then there's the backup systems for something. If something goes wrong, to back it up, that kind of mastery of detail is so vitally important. But here's what else to remember. As far as Herbalife is concerned, the action is in the details. Someone says, I lost 30 lbs. Well, 30 lb is 30 lb, but that's not the drama. The drama is, where were you before you found Herbalife? How did you feel? What kind of circumstances now? Someone begins to give us some of the facts, and then after they've lost the weight, now how they feel. Now their self-confidence has been repaired. Now they feel better about themselves. The drama is in the details, but this is also important in the details of your day, the details of your business, the details of good conversation. Master the details, good advice, Napoleon Hill. Now here's the next three: willingness to assume full responsibility. All of us have been taught that, especially these Herbalife years, to take full 100% responsibility. Maru says, what happened to me might not have been my responsibility, but what I do about it is my full duty. I've had some things, some people did me wrong in his first couple of business events. He was done wrong. Some people ran off with the money. He was left holding the bag, but he said that's what happened. And I was not responsible for what happened. But I am responsible for saying to myself now, what am I going to do about what's happening if a hailstorm destroys the farmer's crop? He wasn't responsible for that, but his duty now begins when the hailstorm is over, when he asks the question of himself, what should I do now? Now that this tragedy is over, now that the damage is done now, what should I do about it? And a philosophy I've taught all these years, it's not what happens to you that determines your future, it's what you do about what happens that affects your future, and this is a big part of it, accepting full duty.